What a second half. What a nuclear performance by Jaden Akins. Tom Izzo gets 7 stacks. That's right. Win number 700 against the program that I was told a few years ago was going to be overtaking Tom Izzo here any minute. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners. It's a joyous episode of Locked On Spartans because the basketball Spartans did it. 81-62. They absolutely obliterated the Wolverines in the second half after just, we'll be honest, a sensational shooting performance from the Wolverines in the first half. But, of course, as they have been all season, weren't able to sustain that. Now, we are joined by Maddie May here. And before I let this gentleman talk, look, what does this game mean? What does it win? It's another one in the column. It's Izzo's 700th, which we will, of course, get to in a little bit. But it is really, truly no different than beating St. Bonaventure, Princeton, North Texas, Louisiana Tech, or even McNeese State. And no, that's not just me being the MSU green and white meanie. No, all those teams are ranked ahead of Michigan and Ken Pom. That is truly how miserable of a year that Juwan Howard has manufactured over there in Ann Arbor. So, while it may not mean much, hey, Maddie, it's nice to win these sometimes. And, man, when you're down 2 at halftime, you're wondering, oh, God, sure, we might win, but it's not going to be the statement that we all thought until it was because, Michigan State showed up. And, so did Michigan. They also showed up to be the team they've been all year. What was your biggest takeaway from this one, Maddie?
Biggest takeaway, Matt, there was no asterisk on that win.
Hey.
Let me tell you, what a game that was. Yeah, I only wish there were a few more dunks and threes made just to really have the crowd go wild. But you got double chicken nuggets for the fans, and you got number 700 for old Thomas Izzo. So I can't complain too much. I mean, if you want me to, I can, but I'm not going to complain about this. And I'm loving it.
No, that was well said because I was watching that game in the second half as Michigan State's up 18, like almost screaming into my closed hands that these threes aren't going in because I wanted to see blood. Because, Maddie, as State fans, the last few months have been a little tough on us, haven't they? The offseason for football has been fine, but it's the actual act of watching games has been a little difficult. So
I've gone completely numb. It's actually been a very, very long discussion with my therapist. But other than that, things, it's been fine, especially Sunday. I really try not to remember that. So today was really nice in the world of MSU athletics and Michigan athletics. Better luck next time.
It was like queuing up Madden after a hard day of middle school back in the day and playing it on rookie mode against a European team and just beating them 112-0 with Mike Vick. Like sometimes you just need a cathartic beatdown. And, it looked very in the balance at halftime. Michigan shot incredible. We did eventually get that here. I just want to run down some second half stats for you, and then we'll get to Jaden Akins lighting it up with 23 points. But as a team, Michigan State, just in the second half, 34 points in the paint, 13 opponent turnovers. They also had 17 fast break points. That's going to win you some games here. That was a nice little turnaround. One that I think as aggravating as that first half was, whether it be Michigan State just not coming out firing all cylinders or just the incredible luck-ish of Michigan shooting, you still had a feeling that Michigan State would eke this one out, but man, they slammed the door on that for Izzo's 700th win. Anything really stick out to you in the second half? Because for me, it was right off the jump. It was those fast break points. That's the Michigan State we've been promised all year, and the Michigan State that shows up when they win big games. So that's what stuck out to me in the second half.
I really just was happy to see it's always that breath of, and I hate to say the breath of the past Michigan State teams to see Jaden Akins put it together.
But really,
and when he does, that looks like the guy we want him to be and are hoping he is that is reminiscent of those tough, dogged MSU teams that come and push you and they rush and they drive at the basket and they outwork you and they out defend you and they outshoot you. And he was finally taking that step, and he's taken it before. We need him to just stay there when he takes it and not pull back. So it's always refreshing to see that. And so it brings you back in the mood of like, we need to chain it together. And you can see it with this team sometimes is that, yes, there's been some ups and downs. Honestly, I like to think that I give props to Tom Izzo for throwing so many games this year so that his 700th win could be against Michigan, yes. Which is just really masterful work and shows why he's one of the best. But you can see sometimes with this team is that when they string it together, it is what the expectations were. And you're like, if only all of them just played at the same time, it could be a symphony as opposed to a lot of noise. So I loved that second half, and everyone seemed to get hyped up. It's like that once that momentum gets going for this team, they really get pretty hard to stop. And I think in the teams of the past, you've seen it where they would get going, they would pull back, and then there'd be like a 9-0 run of the other team. I think this team sometimes just starts off a little slow, and then you just need them to come back. And this was one where they needed to come back, but instead they just hit the nos, and then they let it fly. And that's what you wanted. I mean, everyone was thinking it's Tom Izzo's birthday, number 69, baby, and his 700th win. So many things aligning. He can't lose this game. He just simply doesn't. It's not in his DNA. He would combust. And I think people don't realize that is that Tom Izzo would literally vaporize on the spot. If that, like, it would be like the Lorax being lifted away. He would not be able to survive that. So it was just inevitable that they were going to win this game. I didn't have a doubt at all.
I think a student manager would have been sacrificed after the game should they have lost this one. But
former one.
I mean, who's to say? Luckily, we don't have to see that. But speaking of things that happen inside the locker room, I'm curious as to what that meeting in the locker room was like at halftime, because let's talk about the difference from the first half to the second half with some seniors, with some guys that I don't know if it's correct to call it a sleepy start for all of them, but look, first half for AJ Hoggard, 5 points. Okay. In the second half, bang, 10 points in the second half. Malik Hall, just 4 points in the first half, 8 in the second half. Tyson Walker, just 5 in the first half, but 7 in the second half. He's been kind of, I don't know if we'll ever get to talk about him this episode, but yeah, something doesn't seem to be right with Tyson Walker, but still a productive second half in comparison to his first half. And also too, Monty Sissoko, you're never going to count on him for 16 points necessarily, but he had some big defensive plays there in the second half that really spurred this onslaught to get things going here. So yes, no, folks, it wasn't just your eyes deceiving you. And it didn't seem like Michigan State was really all there in the first half and they just blew up in the second half. No, there's some hard numbers that back all of that up. Maddie, we're going to talk more about this game, obviously. Win number 700, what this all means. But first, I hate to do this to such a strapping guest as you are. I need to send you to the bench because I need to talk to people's ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Gang, happy Super Bowl to all those who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing all your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. Now, what I love about Super Bowl Sunday, of course, is just sitting down, watching the game, seeing some commercials, but wagering my face off. That's right. If you want to get in on all the fun props that FanDuel has, there's one today that I saw, the Super Bowl MVP to not be on the winning team. When does that ever happen? Hardly ever. Maybe we're due. That's 39-1 at FanDuel. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Just keep on stacking up the W's. Kind of like me and Maddie did with AJ Hoggard over 13.5 points. Thank you for those last 2 buckets in the last minute, AJ. Really appreciate you, man. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now let's drag Maddie May back here for the 69th birthday celebration, the 700th win birthday or celebrate. I don't know. I'm all jumbled right now. because it's just nice to win one of these and just be happy.
I feel it.
Other than Jaden Akins, because what a miraculous, just wonderful performance that he had. Which, by the way, you know what? Doesn't it seem like he only hits shots when guys are directly in his face, by the way? Like, I'm sure there's a stat I can look up, but like, it doesn't seem like throughout the whole year, whenever he's wide open for a three-pointer, that thing will not even touch the inside part of the rim. But when he's got a guy standing on top of his shoes, that thing only hits net.
Incredible. And it seems like you give Jaden Akins, and this is kind of what I'm talking about with this step. I wish he would stay at this point, is that it seems like sometimes you give Jaden Akins a wide open, hype building, bring down the house three, and sometimes he'll rim it. But then a lot of the times, especially during these types of games for him, he could be covered in the basketball equivalent of 20 miles of barbed wire and somehow get a three off. And then it just sinks. And it's where you don't expect it. And it leaves you shouting. It leaves your neighbors calling in noise complaints, all the fun stuff that I experience watching a game from the lovely Peacock channel. But he played incredible. Very excited for him. Very excited also for your sponsor for helping us win a little money with the
That's right.
The Hogard bet. That dunk, I was yelling. I will say that. And that missed free throw, I was sweating quite a bit. But luckily they got the steals to seal the deal. So
we'll see if FanDuel still's a sponsor, because I just took $13.92 out of their bottom line with that. AJ Hogard over 13.5 points. That's right. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Any other individual performances you want to highlight before we get into just talking about Izzo and just how great he is, or just quite the contrary, Juwan Howard, and just enjoying that burning clown car of a program over there? Any other individual performances you just wanted to point out here before we move it along?
I'll give a sleeper flower to I think Malik Hall had a solid game.
That's what he does.
Sometimes he has bad Malik Hall, and other times he has solid game Malik Hall, and sometimes he has very good Malik Hall. Obviously, great analysis I'm doing here, but today was solid Malik Hall, which is really what we just need, especially from the senior core that sometimes has been asleep a little bit at the wheel, and then you have these raw freshmen coming in that you wish could get more minutes, but then they play some veterans that may or may not be having a great half. So it's really good to see when the veterans step up and be reliable. And I think he had a really reliable game, honestly. And I give him, and I will give him credit when it's due, because I also give criticism when it's due too. So I won't. And I think AJ stepped it up as well. I'm glad he got his rest in the first half, so he can wake up in the second and get those 15 points we need.
Speaking of criticism for Malik Hall, I'm not going to name this emailer. He knows that I like him, and I get these emails all the time. But this came at halftime, so we'll give a little bit of leeway here. Hope you are watching Malik Hall get bodied by an awful U of M team. We need a countdown to when he's done at MSU. Hey, in case anyone out there was wondering, since his zero burger against Northwestern, that is the 6th straight game he scored in double digits. All games at least 44% shooting, 4 of those games over 50% shooting. Look, I know that he had a bad moment against Kansas State last year, and that was all when he was playing hurt, so much so they had to get surgery in the offseason. I can't believe people just forget that or just kind of brush it off as like, oh, man, that's just a little hurt foot or back or what. Guys, Malik Hall's been good this year. I know that's an uncomfortable thing for some people to realize, but he's been your second best player more times than he hasn't. So just want to just
he's had some good Malik Hall games. We will say that better, and definitely better than last year. He's had some solid stuff, and again, like I said, that's what they need him for. They need him to be a solid senior, and that's what Tom Izzo builds a lot of his teams off of. He has really good seniors. He also has really solid seniors, but he depends on that experience for him to get through a lot of those games in March. So I need that, we need them as fans to be ready like that. And I will say this is that, this wasn't a great opponent not, a quad 1 win. So it's definitely one of those where you really need to see them take that step and play like they did in the second half, in the first half, and play more solid. Again, this is a celebration video, so I'm not going to go too crazy on it, and I'm not going to break it down because I'm bad at it, and so I'll just leave it at that.
No, so all Locked On Spartans listeners can now finish their drink because I do what I do all the time. I'm carrying Malik Hall's water on a show. But really, I like just to shine a light on just how important he's been this season. He's been steady Eddie down there in the post, and I'll say this again. This is probably my 50th time saying it in last month. He is your best offensive weapon on the low block, and quite frankly, there's no real competition for that either. If you need a bucket down low, 1-800 Malik Hall is who you got to call. So that's where we're going to leave with the individual performances. Maddie, what do you want to do? Do you want to celebrate Tom Izzo win number 700, another accolade in his Hall of Fame career? Or do you just want to get down into the mud?
Does it not look like I'm already celebrating? This is how I celebrate.
So it's either celebrate now, and then we'll do an ad read, and then we'll, just get into the mud and talk about Juwan Howard and just the hilarity of what's been going on with that program. Or we could do Juwan first and then celebrate Izzo. Dealer's choice, Maddie. Where do you want to go down first?
I say let's celebrate now. We're riding a vibe.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, there we go.
Very proud of Tom. Loved that they gave a little montage of his first win. How youthful he looks, how old that makes me feel. And it's good to see that he's accomplished so much. I can't wait for the statue to be there. MSU just needs more statues. We need our history. So, but it's just an accomplishment to see, and to see his name up with all those legendary coaches really reminds you how lucky we are as a school that he wants to be here, how much he represents the university. How good of a person he is, and how he's the friggin' mayor of MSU. I mean, he's as much of a part of the university as the Sparty mascot himself. He's driving around, riding, shaking hands, kissing babies, coming out to say hi, and being the best ambassador we have. So no one deserves that more than him, and proud of him. So I'm sure he'll see this and send me a text to say thanks for the kind words, Matt. But either way, that's a wonderful accomplishment for him.
He never misses an episode of Locked On, which
we know.
Is actually probably a good thing, because when he hits, monumental milestones like this, especially in the last few years when things haven't been great, which we have talked about ad nauseum on the show, especially this season. Okay. It's nice to hit the brakes, stop, pause, and appreciate what's been going on here at Michigan State the last few decades. I mean, this does not happen in today's college basketball almost anywhere. And you're seeing the guys drop like flies. Of course, Coach K, Roy Williams, Jay Wright. And you could all understand why they have. I've said many times when that conversation is brought up, I get why they've walked away. If I was in their shoes, I'd do the same. But Tom Izzo, he's still here through thick and thin. He's meant so much for this university, not just what happened on the floor. But, Maddie, as we approach the one-year anniversary of the tragedy last year, just what he meant to the community last year. Yeah. And, of course, that's not the only time off the court he's really meant something to this community, but that's certainly the shining example and the biggest example of what you could pull in his history here. So it's just nice to stop and, okay, actually, yes, it has been annoying, the roster construction. They have some glaring holes. Sometimes you could call a timeout, not a more usul time, but
they don't carry over.
Life could be a lot worse, because 700 wins is a lot of wins. And, hey, Maddie, right now, BartTorvik.com. We're not going to talk about Michigan State right now. Michigan is actually projected to finish this season with 9 wins. And right now, at this point, we're at the point of the Juwan Howard tenure where he don't got Beeline's guys anymore. All right, all that luster that he came with is gone. This is his program now. So let's say that
he needed his guys, Matt. He just needed his guys.
Needed his guys. And now that his guys are here, a 9-win season could be coming up for them. So let's say that all that he does for the rest of his life at Michigan is just win 9 games per year. Maddie, in order to get to 700 wins, Juwan Howard would have to be coaching at Michigan for another 68 years to get to where Tom Izzo is right now. So things are pretty sweet here. And things could be a lot worse like they are elsewhere. We'll keep on piling more dirt onto that grave here in a hot second. But first, Maddie, I need to move you to the bench one more time. It makes me sick to do that. But hey, speaking of sickness, need to talk your ears off about Jace Medical. Now, gang, I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we talk just for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. That is some scary stuff. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than any of my kids, my wife, or my friends getting sick while a supply chain issue kept them from life-saving medication they needed. But thankfully, we will be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses like UTIs, respiratory infections, skin infections, and many more. This stuff could happen to any of us, so be prepared. Visit Jace Medical, that is JASE medical.com, and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It has never been more important to be prepared than it is today, so what are you waiting for? Go to jasemedical.com. Again, that is JASE medical.com, and use offer code LOCKEDON, that's all one word, to get $20 off your order at jasemedical.com. Maddie, I have a horrible memory. Maybe it just doesn't serve me correct here, but
probably all the drinking.
No, I don't think that's the case. But maybe I was a little drunk when I heard this, or maybe other people were a few years ago.
Okay.
I heard Juwan Howard was overtaking Tom Izzo in the Michigan State basketball program a few years ago when they barnstormed to their they certainly made the Final Four as a 1 seed that one year, right? Like that's the year where all the chatter started. There's no way they could have fallen short of a Final Four that year. But anyway, that's when it all started to come out.
He did overtake him, didn't he? Did that?
Hold on, let's see. 81 points was Michigan State tonight, 62 Michigan, and you know what? Let's see how far out Michigan is of the tournament, according to BartTorvik.com. They must be right on the cusp because, again, this is a program that I heard was going to eclipse where Tom Izzo is right now. If you go to BartTorvik.com right now, ladies and gentlemen, you can see how far away they are from the tournament. And actually, it's not too bad. They are the 89th team out, according to BartTorvik.com. So this is a win that could have put them squarely on the bubble, you have a feeling, right? So that's where things are. Or in Ann Arbor. So, yeah, I don't think tournament games are road games, so they can have their star point guard back. So it seems like they're right on the cusp of doing something special here this season.
I will tell you what I'm ready for, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for the day that I get to go to my closet and pull out the brooms and let's get a sweep. I think we're due.
It has to happen this year. Yeah,
it has to happen this year.
It has to happen.
I'm tired of it, and this is the official. We're declaring it here, the official Joe-over season, because good Lord,
it's terrible.
That is some body language going on that bench. It is it hurts to look at, but hurts so good. It's so great. You feel for the kids, but at the same time, hey, you commit there. That's kind of what happens. But I'm ready for the sweep. I think it needs to happen. I think there's no excuse for it not. And I mean, you're going to have Spartan fans filling up 75% of Chrysler anyway, and you're going to have about as my good friend Brett likes to say, the silent library in full force. So it's going to be a study hall by the time the Spartans roll in there. So. I think it's time for the sweep. I think the fans need it. I think it'll really juice this team up heading into Big Ten tournament play. And and nothing gets Tom Izzo fired up more. What a better birthday present. Nothing gets Tom Izzo fired up more than beating Michigan. We know that. And so maybe this is also a jolt for him for the rest of Big Ten play. And we just keep cruising that and use the next game as a boost. For the away game environment of Chrysler Center and take this through because, like I said, I think it's Joe-over.
Now, Michigan State, the computers say, will be favored by about 5.5 points on the road in a game that, just like you said, will be heavily attended by Michigan State fans. That game is going to look like what Michigan fans thought the football game in 2021 was going to look like when they did the whole Raid the Woodshed thing, and then there's 8 pom-poms in the stand. Like, this is actually set to be a takeover because it's not just Michigan State fans buying the tickets, but if you look at some of these pictures from inside Chrysler Arena, a fan base that swore that they didn't just bandwagon basketball when Beeline had a hot team for a few years. No, we're a proud, rich tradition. Like, no, this is going to be the making of another home game for Michigan State. Now, however, like everyone out there knows, Doug McDaniel will be back for this game. It's going to be a different game, and it's just the monkey that Tom Izzo has not gotten off his back against Juwan Howard. So that said, it does have to be the year. I do want to give one nod really quick. I don't think I've ever done this on this show, or God, even in grade school or high school, I don't think I've ever done this.
Okay.
I got to give a nod to a Michigan athlete right now. And of course, I'm going to, throw a slight at Juwan Howard here in the middle of all this. But I do seriously have to tip my cap to Jalen Llewellyn. Like what he did tonight on one leg, he looked like a pirate on a peg leg in the second half here. Clearly not like medically fit to play basketball. He was hobbling for all of the second half. He played 35 minutes tonight.
Yeah, he had a bionic leg.
Dude, how do you have a coach and a leader of a program so just negligent of how to construct a roster that he has him out for 35 minutes? Maddie, it was borderline inhumane that he had him out there for 35 minutes. You're telling me on a basketball team with scholarship receiving players, you don't have anyone that could somewhat competently dribble a basketball up a court and play a little bit of point guard? So I just got to give a nod to Jalen Llewellyn for gutting that out. That was quite a gutsy performance, and he played pretty damn well too. But like, this goes back to Howard. Like, it's not just the wins and losses, the odd suspensions, the fights against assistant coaches, the 5 strikes after the 0 tolerance policy goes into play.
Didn't he punch a guy?
Maybe. Who's to say? I don't know. You know how things are over in Michigan. If something happens, you never hear about it. So
he might have punched 2 guys at this point.
He could have, but hey, 0 tolerance. And what we mean by that is like, we'll like keep the athletic trainer at home for a game. Yeah, it's, you know how it goes.
I think they're mixing up tolerance with oversight, but that's what do I know?
Same difference. But yeah, that was just one stark thing to me, because like we've seen this whole thing burning just building by building down, but like when you're seeing it against your team in real time, like that point guard just struggling to even just dribble a ball off the court because he can't walk, like it's like that. How's anyone at this university letting this happen? This is crazy.
Oh yeah. And I think if I recall, it was that their starting 5, at least for the first few games, was averaging like above 35 minutes a game. It was something.
Yeah, dude, it was unbelievable.
They were playing like 40 minutes for some games, and you just weren't rotating people out. They were forced a Fab 5 to be constructed out of that, of just like, we need 5 players to step up, and it's you. And okay, I guess you're not going to class, so now you're only a home game athlete.
No, it's just something that could not be ignored. And of course, when you pipe Michigan by 19, of course, we're going to do a little bit of grave tap dancing over here. But yeah, did not look like we're going to have one of these episodes at halftime. Again, did I truly think that a win wasn't going to happen ever? Not necessarily. But man, a 19-point shellacking in the second half for Michigan State, scores 48 points in the second half. This makes this a happy episode. And hey, Michigan State fans, of course, it hasn't been terrible the last month or so. It's been pretty nice in the football offseason. Basketball's been going better than it is in Ann Arbor, at least. But for us, Michigan State / Detroit Lions fans, look, I'm not saying that this erases everything that happened Sunday. I don't even know if it takes care of a quarter of it, but it helps. It's nice to smile again. It's nice to smile again after a sporting event, Maddie. So
it really does help. I've had worse Tuesdays. We'll put it that way.
Amen. Here. Is it still Tuesday? Yeah, it is still 17 minutes left into Tuesday. There we go.
You.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you Chicago elite over there. Yeah, you got a little more time to enjoy this Tuesday. So, Maddie, really do appreciate you joining, man. This is always a hoot and a half. Anything else you just want to talk about before we just let you go and enjoy the rest of your week? And
as I think we've heard DK say before, we need Tom Izzo to evolve and maybe go into the portal and get us a center. But this is a positivity podcast right now, so I'm not going to add that point on there. We'll just say great win, happy birthday, Tom, and a big go green. I'm always happy to be your most anonymous guest. So just remember, folks, is that usually guests following me are much more famous. It's usually Governor Whitmer or PFT commenter, or
sure.
So at this rate, it's Connor Cook next. So didn't want to spoil that, but just remember that for each of those episodes. But yeah, thanks for having me on. This was great.
It's even better. It's Peach from Twitter. He's going to be making his Locked On Spartans debut tomorrow.
The most famous one of all.
Who needs some governor? Who needs some co-host of the #1 podcast in the entire world? Now we're going for Peach. That's right. God, if you already thought that I looked ugly, just wait until his face is next to mine. I'm gonna look like a troll.
Yeah.
But until then, gang, let's enjoy this one. Let's be annoying. Who cares? Because it's about time we smile after a sporting event. All right, there we go. Love you all. Enjoy your week. Love you, Maddie, over there. Go Green.
Go White.